Ubuntu and LMDE are two of the hottest Debian-based Linux distros. Ubuntu is the world's most popular Linux distro and LMDE is one of the most fantastic distros you'll use today, and it's quite underrated at the same time. Both might be Debian-based and have a similar lineage, but that's where the similarities start and end. Ubuntu and LMDE provide different desktop environments, different kinds of performance profiles, different software pools, and the differences just go on. But one thing that they both have in common is they both provide super polished computing experiences, best in the business. And LMDE is rising very fast in the Linux world, and I wouldn't be surprised if it becomes a top contender for Ubuntu's throne of the hottest Linux distro. So in this epic showdown, we are pitting LMDE against Ubuntu LTS version and see how they compare against each other in terms of performance, the user interface, software availability, and finally see if the developers of Linux Mint have brought out the ultimate trump card, or is Ubuntu the king for a reason. Oh, this is going to be very interesting. Having a good knowledge of Linux commands and being comfortable using the terminal really broadens what you can do with Linux and what kind of experience you are going to get here. So if you're interested in leveling up your Linux game, definitely check out my course Linux Mastery Express, which is the fastest way to learn Linux and start using Linux like a pro. I'll teach you a set of commands that will give you the confidence to use Linux without even a graphical user interface. Then we'll dive deep and learn how to use the V-editor and master shell scripting with real-life examples. After teaching more than 100 students in person, I've curated this course with the top things that will level up your Linux skills the fastest. So if you're feeling like your Linux game is stuck in the same spot for too long and you're ready to take your Linux skills to the next level quickly, check out the link in the description below and get your Linux Mastery Express. We are running a massive 45% discount right now, so make use of it. Let's start off with the user interface showdown. Round 1, fight. Ubuntu ships with the GNOME desktop environment, but it's unlike anything you get to see on other distros. Ubuntu offers a heavily customized version of GNOME that's exclusive to Ubuntu. Ubuntu has created its own workflow, its own look, and its own branding with its desktop. It's GNOME alright, but how it looks, how you use it is very different from stock GNOME. Firstly, talking about the looks, Ubuntu brings in its own Yaru theme in place of GNOME's Advaita theme, and this brings an orange premium rush to the desktop. All the applications here look superb in this theme. The dark mode just makes everything that much better. It also brings its homegrown Yaru icon pack, which is again just amazing. The icons look modern and there's that element of uniformity here. It's all topped off with this matching wallpaper. In the looks department, Ubuntu is just amazing. May it be laptops, desktops, or for home usage, or school or even professional usage, Ubuntu looks good. Looks great out of the box. And the workflow here is vastly improved by introducing this side panel. I love stock GNOME, but once you use GNOME with this side panel, you'll never go back. It simplifies application launching and switching. You get work done faster here. All in all, Ubuntu's desktop is intuitive to say the least. Looks great, works great, couldn't ask for more. Moving on to LMDE, which stands for Linux Mint Debian Edition, we get their own Cinnamon desktop environment here. And let me start off by saying that Cinnamon is one of the finest ways of using your computer. It comes with that tried and tested Windows 7 style traditional desktop layout. The thing here is, everybody just gets this. Even a person who has never used Linux can just hop on and start using Cinnamon desktop. You know where the menu is and how to use it. You know how to use this bottom panel to switch between applications. So that big enough friction of switching to a new system is pretty much eliminated with LMDE. It makes you comfortable. Let's not underestimate this one thing. And talking about the looks, Cinnamon may be a traditional style desktop, but it's styled to be modern and to impress. The theming, the elements, it's all modern and updated regularly. In fact, Cinnamon desktop has recently hit version 6.0 and there are some cool visual overhauls. LMDE's Cinnamon desktop tries to hit that sweet spot between being good looking and functional, being feature rich and efficient. Let's not forget how widely used Linux Mint is, how it gets some hardcore love from its loyal users. Cinnamon desktop is one of the biggest reasons for Linux Mint's success, and we get the same Cinnamon desktop here on LMDE. How you interact with Ubuntu and LMDE could not have been more different. They even look very different. But both of them have their own workflows, and one thing common here is both are extremely amazing to use. But this is a very subjective issue. You might like one, I might like the other. So we'll give both Ubuntu and LMDE a point each and head to the next round. Software availability of any operating system, both in terms of quantity and quality, is going to be a huge factor in its success. Ubuntu and LMDE excel in this department, but in their own ways. LMDE primarily lets you install software from Debian stable repositories. This is one of the most exhaustive, extensively tested open source software repositories. These repositories contain a vast number of software. Most of everything created for Linux will be available here for direct installation. Browsers, office tools, utilities, games and entertainment software, media players, programming stuff, you're gonna get everything here. And these packages here have undergone extensive testing. So when you install anything here, you can be sure that it will work flawlessly. There are no dependency hassles, there are no interoperability issues, everything works super smooth here. The Debian community ensures this kind of superior stability. They spend months if not years testing software packages so that you get that impeccable user experience. So this also means that more time is spent in testing software packages. So Debian repositories do contain old packages. You're not gonna get the newest of everything here, not even close. With LMDE, you are making that sacrifice of newer packages for well-tested and stable packages. And for many of us, this is going to be a good thing. Trust me, you want that stability. At the same time, you are going to be missing out on new features when you compare to the newest available versions. But to overcome that, you can use Flatpaks here, which give you the newest of everything. More on that in a bit. Ubuntu on the other hand gets software packages from Debian repositories as well, but it gets them earlier on in the testing process and not from the Debian stable repositories. Then it does its own testing and quality assurance on these packages before publishing them to the users. What this does is, it allows Ubuntu to bring newer packages to users before Debian stable. Now Ubuntu 2 doesn't come close to something like Arch Linux, but it does provide a contemporary computing experience compared to LMDE. So keep this one thing in mind. Ultimately, both LMDE and Ubuntu provide you a carefully curated set of software, not the latest, but better in terms of stability. Both provide you with a huge library of software that let you install anything you want from the software store itself. Then, Debian and Ubuntu are two very popular Linux distros, so both are very well supported by almost all software vendors and they provide .deb files which you can use to install software. Additionally, both LMDE and Ubuntu come with an enhanced library of Flatpaks and snaps respectively. Ubuntu has its own universal software packaging format called snaps, which it is heavily promoting at the moment, and snaps have distinct advantages. Many top software vendors like Google, Microsoft, Nextcloud, Spotify, Mozilla, and many more are providing their software as snaps. Now the main advantage here is installing software as snaps brings you the newest version of these packages. You don't have to use outdated packages from Ubuntu or Debian repositories. The latest packages loaded with the newest and greatest features and advancements are brought to you as soon as the software developers publish them. LMDE on the other hand brings in Flatpaks. Flatpak 2 is a universal packaging format and it has strong support from various Linux and open source communities. It too lets you install the latest and greatest of software directly coming from the software vendors. So with both Ubuntu and LMDE, you have that choice. You can use well-tested packages provided by the distro or go with the newest of everything with snaps or Flatpaks. But in any case, one thing to appreciate is Ubuntu and LMDE provide you with the finest software availability. There are many distros out there with their own software philosophies. But when it comes to user experience, both Ubuntu and LMDE are there on the top. Both get a point each here. Performance is an area where there is tight competition between LMDE and Ubuntu. Ubuntu is an extremely efficacious system. It's designed ground up to deliver the best possible performance across a range of hardware. Ubuntu's kernel is designed to provide a smoother and stable computing experience on most computers. It brings in additional patches and performance improvements to make it more smoother. Ubuntu backports and implements newer technologies like triple frame buffering, system OOMD, automatic disk trim, and many other new techniques to make the Ubuntu experience more enjoyable and nimbler. As the most used Linux distro, Ubuntu stands up to that role and gives you absolutely zero complaints with regard to the performance. It also gives you a very powerful and versatile hardware driver management utility that lets you directly find and install the latest and best drivers for your devices, so that Ubuntu is squeezing every ounce of performance from your hardware. LMDE on the other hand is a very lean system by default. Yeah, it's lighter, comes with less bloat, and is a very efficient system altogether. There are a few things to note here. Firstly, LMDE boots up with slightly less number of system services. Its Debian base starts off with only the essential services and processes. On the other hand, Ubuntu prioritizes user friendliness, so it boots up with a few more services and processes to promote usability. While this is not going to have a big impact, there is going to be that small overhead. Ubuntu also comes with snaps, which take up a large amount of storage space. This can have a big impact on the startup time of applications. For example, Firefox is installed as a snap on Ubuntu, and on LMDE, you're getting the full native Firefox. And you are going to notice a startup time difference. If your system is installed on an SSD, this is not going to be big. But if your system is installed on a hard disk drive, this difference is going to be massive. So in the performance department, both Ubuntu and LMDE have their own approaches and techniques of delivering a fluid performance. LMDE is definitely going to be more efficient with resources, but because of Ubuntu's optimizations, this difference is going to be slight and not enough for LMDE to take the performance point away from Ubuntu. So both the systems are very good performers on laptops and desktops. Compared to something like Windows, these two systems are going to be blazing. So they both get a point each in the performance section. Ubuntu is recommended for all use cases, and I'd go with LMDE on my slightly older laptops as it's a tad bit lighter. Ubuntu and LMDE both are based on Debian, yes, but there is one consequential difference here. LMDE is based on Debian stable, fully tested and certified. Ubuntu LTS on the other hand is derived from a snapshot of Debian testing, which Ubuntu team itself puts through rigorous testing and quality assurance tests to come out with their own stable product. The difference in process leads to big differences in the final product. Debian stable, which LMDE is based on, becomes a hyper-stable operating system which is known for being exactly that, stable. In the world of operating systems, nothing beats Debian when it comes to dependability, and for people seeking dependability, LMDE is going to be just the right thing. But this stability comes with a trade-off. You are gonna get significantly older packages here. Yeah, with LMDE, you're gonna get that guarantee that everything is gonna work as expected, but at the same time, you're gonna miss out on features. Let me give you my example itself. I use two software, Blender and Kdenlive, both of which are quite outdated on Debian stable repositories and don't have many features that are honestly too good to miss out on. You have to be mindful of this one thing when choosing LMDE. Ubuntu on the other hand takes a different approach. It's based on a much newer testing snapshot of Debian. Then it does its own testing and quality control to provide a stable but a contemporary computing platform. With Ubuntu, you are not left out in the last decade. It's not the newest but not terribly old as well. Ubuntu aims to strike a balance between stability and staying relevant, and this road seems to be working for Ubuntu and its users love it. Anyway, both Ubuntu and LMDE have snaps and flatpaks which completely override this one disadvantage, and with these, you're gonna get the latest and greatest of everything on a stable platter. Talking about the usability, both LMDE and Ubuntu are masters in this department. Ubuntu is known as Linux for humans. Do I even need to say more here? LMDE on the other hand comes with Linux Mint's beloved Cinnamon desktop, which makes everything simpler. Using your computer with Cinnamon desktop, I cannot imagine it getting simpler. LMDE just makes your life easier. Using it is easy, installing and managing software on it is simple, updates are non-trivial with its update manager, which mind you, gives you full control over how you update your system. What I'm saying here is, when it comes to usability, Ubuntu and LMDE are pioneers. They take care of you. Stability, LMDE is an absolute rock. Ubuntu takes a more balanced approach. Both get a point each here. Gaming on Linux is evolving rapidly, and Ubuntu is one of the finest ways of gaming on Linux. LMDE, that's a slightly different story. Let me elaborate. Ubuntu, as the most popular Linux distro, gets first-class treatment from Steam. All games are tested and optimized for Ubuntu. Steam brings its vast library of Linux native games to both Ubuntu and LMDE. You can install Steam and Steam games officially on both these distributions. Top titles like Dota 2, the Tomb Raider series, the Hitman series, Team Fortress 2, and many more are brought to Linux natively. But the real magic of Steam lies in its Steam Play feature. With it, you can play thousands of Windows exclusive games on Linux, that too without any wine or play on Linux hassle. Everything is handled automatically. Titles like GTA 5, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, Cyberpunk 2077, Elden Ring, and many more are playable on Linux with Steam Play. Really, you'll be surprised at how well it all works here. Both Ubuntu and LMDE also bring huge libraries of free games from their own software repositories. You can play some fantastic games here. 080, Nexus, Alien Arena, Super Tux Kart, And many more fun titles are available here. You can directly browse the software store and install them directly here. One advantage that Ubuntu gets over LMDE in the gaming department is the GPU proprietary driver support. Ubuntu automatically installs NVIDIA drivers and even brings in a simple driver manager application to give you full control. I cannot stress how convenient this one thing is. LMDE lacks such a feature and you have to manually install NVIDIA drivers. Now, it's not difficult. In fact, you just need to run a couple of commands to install NVIDIA drivers. But it's like that here. Apart from this, gaming is golden on LMDE. But still, Ubuntu gets the gaming point home, as on Linux, getting started with gaming and getting everything running is a factor you need to consider. Ubuntu and LMDE both have very simple and straightforward installation procedures. Both are targeted for use by everybody, so care has been taken to ensure that both the systems are easy to get started with. You start off by downloading the ISO files from their respective websites and then flash the downloaded ISO file onto a USB stick and live boot into it. Ubuntu uses the Ubiquiti installer, which is one of the simplest installers we have today. Newer versions of Ubuntu come with a brand new Flutter-based installer, which too has a straightforward installation procedure. LMDE too has an uncomplicated installation process, pretty much the same as that of Ubuntu. Everything is easy to understand and represented in a very beginner-friendly way here. Once you configure all the options like your language, time zone, the partition to install LMDE, the system is installed in 15 minutes. Talking about the drivers, LMDE contains almost all the hardware drivers. GPU drivers for Intel integrated and AMD are also pre-installed. If you have NVIDIA hardware, you'll need to manually install proprietary drivers. It's easy peasy. Just follow the link given in the description below. But I like that Ubuntu installs even these drivers automatically. All in all, installing and getting started with both Ubuntu and LMDE is a simple affair and can be done over a cup of coffee and 20 minutes to spare. Both get a point each here. Ubuntu is the world's most popular Linux distro and as such has a large community. Ubuntu's community is also very active in helping out other users enjoy Ubuntu. There is a large repository of community written help material online. How-to articles, troubleshooting guides, answers to questions and solutions on the Ask Ubuntu forums. Ask Ubuntu forums are absolutely amazing. Using Ubuntu becomes really easy because of Ask Ubuntu. Literally any question you might have regarding Ubuntu, you'll find answered and cross-verified here. Even if you have hardware specific issues, you'll find that people are very eager to help out here. Having this kind of resource makes using Ubuntu a much simpler affair, considering Linux can be challenging at times. But in this department, Ubuntu outshines everything. Any question you might have, you'll find help immediately. LMDE on the other hand has a growing community. Many people are embracing LMDE and the number of people using it is growing steadily. Many people are even choosing LMDE over the main Linux Mint. The community may not be as big as Ubuntu community, but it is growing. The Linux Mint forums are growing with LMDE related how-tos, troubleshooting guides and answers to questions. But there is one neat trick here. Since LMDE is Debian under the hood, you can safely apply guides written for Debian 12 to LMDE 6. Of course, not stuff related to the desktop environment, but things like how to install something, drivers, under the hood tweaking and most of the help material written for Debian can be used with LMDE. And Debian has extensive availability of such guides. Pretty much any question you might have, you'll find them already answered for Debian. The combined community support of LMDE and Debian ensures that you never get stuck with any issues on LMDE. Any issue, first search how to solve it on LMDE, and if you don't find a satisfactory solution, then search how to solve the issue on Debian 12. You'll get it. While I could mess around with LMDE with a little help online, Ubuntu is way ahead in the community support department, so it gets the win in this section. Did you know that LMDE was created as a backup by the Linux Mint team, just in case Ubuntu became unviable to be used as the base for the main Linux Mint? Yeah, but what started off as a backup project has turned out to be so good that it's giving strong competition to the main Linux Mint as well. Yeah, I kid you not. Many Linux Mint users are strongly considering Linux Mint Debian edition as its Debian base and the principles that come with it are becoming even more appealing. The thing is, Linux Mint Debian edition is a system that really appeals to the average Linux user. Now an average Linux user is not the same as your average Windows or Mac OS user. No, Linux users are closer to their computer. There is a connection between man, machine and software here. We can feel the computer revving up just like a motorbike. We can feel the harmony of package management. And no, I'm not high. What I'm saying is, LMDE strikes a chord with us Linux old schoolers. None of that snap, flatpak stuff here. You can use those if you want, but out of the box, you get a system that compelled you to switch to Linux. Yeah, LMDE is kinda old school Linux. Linux Mint developers have done their magic again and brought out a very refined system. Debian is a phenomenal system. For most people, flawless stability is going to be more important than bleeding edge software. Debian understands this and delivers on it. With LMDE, Mint developers wrap up this super solid system in a shinier package and make it more attractive. And this is Debian made vastly simpler. LMDE is easier than Debian to install and get started with. It's simple to use and configure thanks to Cinnamon Desktop, and the overall experience of using this system is a very palpable one. Ubuntu is a system that has proved itself over and over again. It is the most popular Linux distro for a reason, no doubt there. But my personal point today goes to LMDE because I really resonate with it. I see a lot of potential in LMDE and there is that spark of a top distro here. Yeah, improvements are needed in a couple of areas here and there, but it's a very solid distro overall. But by the total tally of points, Ubuntu takes the cup home today, although by a slight margin. Ubuntu and LMDE are both phenomenal systems. Which one should you choose comes down largely to what kind of experience you need, what works for you. I hope this video helps you make an informed decision. I suggest you give them both a try and pick the one that you enjoy the most. The download links for both the distros are given in the description below. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, definitely consider subscribing to the channel and leave me a big thumbs up. And if you're interested in leveling up your Linux skills, the link to my course Linux Mastery Express is given in the description below. It's designed to teach you Linux and take you from zero to hero within the shortest amount of time possible. You'll be using Linux like a pro within a matter of hours, so definitely check that out. Next up, check out what's new in the latest Linux Mint, that is Linux Mint 21.3. It's bringing some cool changes this time around, so absolutely don't miss that. Alright, this is Linux Techs, signing out.